back to you on a little bit of everything. So I made a post about some of my jug lines some time back, and wanted to know if people even knew what they were, knew how to make them. So I put some posts up on Facebook to see if there was anybody interested in seeing some videos about it, learning how to do it. And there was a lot of people immediately hit me up. Didn't know what a jug line was, didn't know how to make them, didn't even know it was a thing. So jug fishing is something that it's very profitable. It's extremely profitable. So it's almost like having 100 poles out in the water at once. Especially with Texas state law, you can have 100 hooks out per person. And with jugs, you can put 2-3 hooks out on them at a time, as long as you don't exceed that 100 hook per person. Now, I want to talk to you guys about how to make the jugs, the different kind of jugs, and the actual Texas laws on the jugs themselves. So, this jug right here, this is a homemade jug made out of Schedule 40 PVC pipe. Looks like it's got 2 caps, it's got a hook lip, a little hook eye, it's got the line, it's got a hook, and it has a sinker. This jug right here, this is illegal in the state of Texas. This is illegal, okay? So, a lot of people, they like using stuff like this, but you can't, not in the state of Texas. Not according to the laws that Texas has. So, Texas law states that if you're going to be jugging, it has to be a free-floating jug. It has to have your name, your address, your phone number, and it has to be white. This noodle right here, this is pink. This would not be classified as a white jug. Now you can bleach this, you can put it out in the sun and turn it white, but as it sits right now, it's illegal to have out there. Got no labels on it or anything to that nature. So, a lot of people, they like using these, but you got to really delve into your state laws and regulations, because say you got 20 of these out and you receive 1 ticket per one, it doesn't matter if that ticket's only, $50 or if it's $200. If you got 20 of them out, you're getting a lot of tickets. That's a lot of fines you're going to be racking up. So, we are going to be turning this soda bottle right here. This is the beginning, I guess you could say, the canvas, so to speak. So you take this soda bottle, and then there's a couple different ways that you can paint them white. This is the easiest way that I've seen. I have put paint in the jug. I have shaken it up, tried to drain the paint out, all that fun stuff. I don't like it. Doesn't work real well for me. It does make them white, but it also takes away from some of the buoyancy, whereas the spray paint, yeah, it can be scratched off over time, hitting branches, hitting stuff like that, but all you gotta do is respray paint. It doesn't mess with the buoyancy. It meets Texas standards, so boom, bada bing, good to go. So what you're going to need, we're just going to go right into making these, is you're going to need a bunch of these bottles. It doesn't matter, you can use any size, any shape. You can find them on the bank when you're out boating. You can save them up from when you're drinking and eating and all that fun stuff. You're going to need electrical tape. You're going to need a permanent marker, a blade, some scissors, pretty much any kind of sinker. This sinker right here, I found like 100 of them. They were on a cast net that somebody had gotten hung up in the river, and it got all jacked up. So I spent time to cut all those little sinkers off of that daggone cast net. We're going to put them all on the jugs. Then you want an assortment of hooks. Right here, you want hooks of all different shapes and sizes until you figure out what hook works best in your area. And then you can change them out depending on what size of catfish you're fishing for, what size of bass or carp or suckerfish or whatever it is you're trying to get. So your next step, after you've got a bunch of your clear bottles, you want to make sure all your tape and stuff's off of them like that. Make sure they are as clear as possible. So now you've got them all spray painted. You spray paint them up. Doesn't take but 10-15 minutes to get a good coat of spray paint on them and to get them to dry. So then you've got your spray paint, you've got it dry on your bottle. Now this next part is pretty important. So what I do is I take a strip of electrical tape and I go all the way around the bottle like that. And the reason why I do that is because whenever you put your line, you put your sinkers and you put your hooks on there, your hooks got to have something to where they're not getting all tangled up, where it keeps your line tight wrapped around your bottle. That's just an easy way to keep your hooks out of the way, to keep you from getting them stuck in your hand and all that fun stuff like that you really don't want to happen. You don't want 40 jugs that you just spent 2 hours making all tangled up in the bottom of your boat that you got to fight with. You want an ease of use. You can put them out real fast, pick them up real fast. So you're going to want your fishing line. I like to use 25-pound test line. This is what I like to use if I'm not going to be using something like this right here. Sometimes I use stuff like this if I'm fishing for big catfish, but if I'm just fishing little lakes and stuff like that, then I just stick to the regular fishing line. I don't. There's no reason to really go up any bigger than that 25-pound test. So now let me go ahead and show you how to tie the knots and to show you the setup on the tackle. So what you're going to want to do is you want to get your bottle. You want to determine how much line you want on that bottle. So if you know that where you're going to be going at is 10 foot, you know it's going to be 15 foot, everybody has a general idea how tall they are. So you just take your line. If I want to fish in about 15 foot of water, I am about 5'9", so I just go 5, 10, and you just cut it right there at 10. Bam, 10 foot of line. So then you take your line, you wrap it around the top. Now this knot's important. You got to get this knot right. So what you'll do is you'll go over just like that, and then you'll twist it around once, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once you went around 5 times, you'll come back up through the main loop, and you pull it a little tight, and then you'll look for the loop that you had created on the side of your twists, and then you want to take the point of that line back through the loop that you had made that's next to those twists. And then once it's back through, you want to cinch it down, get it nice and tight, because what you don't want is for your line to come off your bottle. So now that's really good on there and nothing coming off of it. So now that you got that portion done, what you'll do is, a lot of people, they'll put their hooks 2 foot apart, they'll put them 3 foot or 5 foot. Me personally, I like putting them about 3 foot apart. So I go like that, so that's 5 foot right there. And then I'll just eyeball it and be like, okay, that right there is about 3 foot right here. This is about 3. So you can put these on several different ways. I like folding mine in half like that, pinching it. And then I'll take a hook, put it through the hole that is the side that the actual point is not on. That's important. So you go through there, then you come up with your hook through the loop, 1, 2, 3 times at least. Pull it tight. So now you have something that should look about like this. Now, I also like to put another safety on there by tying it in a knot. Just a regular old knot, just overhand, and have the knot hug right up against the eyelet that's on the hook. As close as possible. So that way it keeps your hook from sliding up and down your line. And the reason you want to go on the bottom like that, why you want to go through the bottom of the eyelet, is so that way the hook, when it's in the water, is facing just like that. So when the catfish come up to bite it, they come up like that instead of your hook being facing this direction, which won't be good for anybody. It's likely not to catch much. So you want it to where the sharp part is pointing up. So you got one right there on your 3 foot. You want to go about another 3, which is going to be about right there. Do the same exact thing. Pinch it just like that. Get a hook that you like. Go in through the bottom. Go 1, 2, 3. Pull it tight. And then tie a knot right there by the eyelet. You want it as close as possible, right up against it preferably. And then turn that around, and you've got another one right here. So now that you got that, now it's time for you to put your sinker on. So when you're putting your sinker on, you just go through the hole. You ain't got to do nothing extremely fancy. I just do about 4 overhand knots for the sinker. 3, 4. Just like that. Because the purpose of that is the bottle's going to be floating on top of the water like this. And then your sinker is going to be dragging on the ground. And then your hooks are going to be distributed amongst the water like that. Now you want it to stay pretty tight for the most part, so you want to make sure that if you got a 10-foot jug, you're going to be fishing about 15 foot of water. You really don't want your sinker dragging the ground in most cases. Some people do it. Me personally, I don't like to do it. I like my jug to be able to just float down the river, down the creek, across the lake. Just let the wind push it across the water because it's more appeasing to the fish in my opinion that way. That's just how I do it. So the fish will come up, their hooks are all baited, they'll grab it, and they'll yank down. So the bottle up here, this bottle, whenever the fish will yank down on the line and go to swim off with your bait, the way it works is the bottle, the force of it going under the water, it sets the hook in the fish's mouth, the catfish's mouth. And then that catfish gets exhausted from pulling on all that resistance on the bottle. The bottle is going to continue to try to rise to the surface. It's going to get exhausted, and eventually that bottle is just going to be sitting there on the top. It's usually going to be standing up like this because the line's tied to this end. When you start coming up in your boat to pick it up, that catfish is going to be jerking that bottle down, and you're going to know you got something. Now, again, you want to make sure that you're not using a small bottle and fishing for, 30-pound catfish, because you don't want a catfish that can take your bottle and hold it under the water for a long period of time. You want to be able to recover them. So, again, remember Texas law, bottles have to be white, okay? They have to be marked with your name, address, and phone number, and they have to be free floating. To my knowledge, that is pretty much the only rules on jugging that I have found as far as Texas goes, and I've been jugging here for a couple years now. Also, no more than 100 hooks out at one time per person. So other than that, guys, that about concludes the video. I'm going to try to get some jugs in action for you this weekend. Try to make another video so you guys can see how they work. I've got about 35, 40 more of these to make. Other than that, this was Nate on a little bit of everything. Like, subscribe, and I'll be getting back to you guys shortly. You have a good day.